Allow me, if I may, to finish my thoughts on the subject of the de-radicalizer, because this is, again, something that I haven't seen brought up all that often, if at all, if ever, amongst dissident dissident types. Amongst those of us whose views don't jibe with the consensus, the enforced consensus. We don't talk about this very often, or I haven't heard it talked about very often. I haven't heard it discussed very often. And the article that I referred you to in my prior video from countercurrents.com, it's an interesting article as far as it goes. It's as I was reading it again, as I was actually reading it out loud for the video, I realized that it's a rather short-sighted video or short-sighted article in a lot of ways, because it sort of puts on this it takes this stance, which it was sort of the thing that WNs tended to do a few years ago when the alt-right was gaining traction and getting attention, and there were different types of people who were being called alt-right, and there, people such as the Countercurrents gang and others were very much posturing in this manner that was like just to say that if you're not a white nationalist, that basically you're not a genuine dissident. That all these other points of view are really just some version of the establishment, just made to appear more radical. But the only truly radical dissident stance is white nationalism, which is absurd. It's not related to whether you believe in white nationalism or not. To take that stance is just it never had any intellectual heft. It never made any sense to me. It always just seemed like a kind of a manner of preening, and like a kind of a psychological an effort at psychological manipulation, like to say, you're not really, if you really have any guts, you'll join us here who are white nationalists. But if you take various X, Y, and Z stances that are very much opposed to the mainstream, and and they're pretty much calling you Nazis, whether you are one or not. They're calling you that if you take these kinds of positions. Then you're still just a contemptible wannabe, unless you're a white nationalist. And you see it in that article where the writer actually talks about QAnon. And again, I'm not a fan of QAnon. I think QAnon is a dead end. I think it's ultimately at the very top controlled opposition. But I think the people who buy into it, people who followed it and who believed in it, were not controlled opposition. I think they were people who were sincere, and their hearts were in the right place. It's more than that; their hearts were in the right place. They were correct to see the kind of extreme and grotesque corruption that's out there. Where they were incorrect was to buy into this whole notion that Trump and and his people were cleaning house and draining the swamp and all of that, and that we would see, we would eventually see military tribunals for all these degenerates in Hollywood and in the military industrial complex and elsewhere. Uh, that aspect of it, I always just thought was ridiculous. But QAnon itself, if you hear the way they talk about QAnon, the way that establishment media types talk about QAnon, they clearly do not think of QAnon as you know as a non. They clearly think of it as an extremist position. They clearly think of it as a uh, as a perspective, a point of view that is not that they do not approve of. And so for this guy to say that QAnon, this writer to say QAnon was just a means of de-radicalization, was just silly. And for him to at the end of the article to talk about the alt light, people in the alt light, and you know, however they are, I don't know, however they would be categorized. I don't know, Jordan Peterson, Lawrence Southern, whoever, just anyone who's not overt racialist, but who is uh, loathed by the media establishment just the same. Um, that they are just uh, again manifestations of de-radicalization. Look, I just kind of wish these people would understand, and it's nothing against them holding their ideology, but for them, they should they need to understand that they are not the only way of being radical. They are not the only way of being anti-establishment. They are not the only way of opposing the system. Um, so this kind, I think I promoted that article maybe a bit more than it deserved to be promoted, just because it's so awash in that kind of thinking. Um, but I did want to say something. I mean, I have had it on my heart for a while that I wanted to say something about the de-radicalizing uh, efforts of certain people, certain entities, certain uh, I think there is. I'm going to speculate that there is a moneyed effort behind de-radicalization. That there is some kind of targeted. Uh, it's some kind of operation going on that involves targeting people who are seen as as radical or extreme, and trying to talk them down, trying to, well, under the pretense of befriending them, under the pretense of wanting to understand them, under the pretense of wanting to hear their stories. Uh, the ultimate goal, which maybe, maybe that's part of what it, what it's all about. Maybe some of these de-radicalizer types really are interested in hearing the stories, uh, and really do mean well. I'm not excluding that as a possibility, but still, I would still say that it ultimately is a two-faced operation, because they don't come out and say, we are here to de-radicalize you. We are here, we're talking to you because we think that you are too extreme, and we're worried about the influence that you are having. Uh, we're worried about the 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 fact that you and so many others like you are causing there to be such distrust in the system, and we want to help. Just um, we want to sweet talk you back into believing in the system. You know. So if you claim the title of incel, which again, I would say that incel, like alt right, is one of those terms that's just best always just put in quotation marks now, because it has become so it has ceased to be descriptive and has become only a term of approbation. Um, but do I mean approbation, or do I mean another word that sounds like approbation? A term that essentially uh, is a term of abuse. Okay, uh, is a way of making fun of someone, or of attempting to denigrate them. You know, like I see the incels are out there. You know, if writes somebody writes something on a thread saying, some women are are spoiled, or think they deserve the world for just existing, then the answer is okay, incel. You know, that sort of thing. Um, so anyway, if you're an incel, then they want to say, hey, you can you shouldn't you shouldn't be that way. You should. Uh, I don't even know whether I think these people are aware. The people in this operation, I think they're aware of the problem. You know, whether it's incels or whether it's people who used to be called alt right and are now dissident right, or whether it's people who uh, who just for one reason or another just see the the system as rotten and corrupt beyond repair. Um, the they want to. The goal seems to be to get you to drop your extremism, to drop your quote unquote extremism, to drop your quote unquote radicalism, and they seem to be almost exclusively targeting um, the right, the dissident right, because the Antifa are protected. Antifa. I mean, there are elements of the left, the anti-establishment left, that that are not in favor, or that are not in the favor of the establishment. Don't get me wrong. Um, there's like the anti-war, the old left, the anti-war left, the anti-military-industrial complex left. Um, you know, the the anti-militarist left, and so forth. But their targets are mostly the dissident right. Okay, and so just beware. Be don't be afraid. I'm not. Don't fear. This is not a fear thing, but just be wary of people who want to talk to you and who want to try to who under the pretense of wanting to hear your story uh, actually are trying to move you they have an agenda that they don't admit to, right? That's the thing about it, the sneaky part of it. They have this agenda to try to move you back, to get you away from these these dangerous kinds of places. These occupying this this precarious position that you're occupying right now. They want to get you back. Well, to use an old expression, they want to get you back on the reservation. And there is obviously it's obviously part of some widespread effort, because, we've got military affiliated people, law enforcement affiliated people. Remember when Joker was released in 2019, and some spokesman from the Navy or something, from the U.S. Navy, said there is good reason to suspect that there might be an incel terrorist strike at one of these showings of Joker. Like they were really trying to stir the pot in that case, in that situation. They were really trying hard to use this movie, which I don't think the movie was part of it. The op. You can disagree with me if you want, but I think the movie was actually one of those rare cases of somebody in the entertainment industry deciding to make an unflinchingly honest to make an unflinchingly honest depiction of the sort of person who dwells, like Arthur Fleck, on the margins of society. I don't want to get back into the Joker. I don't want to go back to the Joker wars, though. I remember, I remember really duking it out with some people, and at least one of my viewers just stopped watching me. He was a loyal. By loyal, I mean he watched all of my videos and commented and on many, and seemed to be very very supportive, and reviewed a few of my books very favorably. But the Joker thing, just that he saw Joker as this evil phenomenon, and I didn't. I saw it as an attempt to create worthwhile art, was enough to sort of make him not want to follow me anymore. Which is, I'm not feeling sorry for myself. I'm not saying poor me, because you come to expect that people like you, and then they don't like you. And I mean, if you put yourself out there in any way, even in a very in a way that in a very minor way, like this channel does, there are always going to be people like that. So I don't want to get into a Joker war again. But anyway, that was, I think that when the authorities said we might have these incel types just go, we really can't trust. And they actually had signs up saying, no single men can see this movie. And there was a sign at a particular theater that said, if you're by yourself, you can't see this movie. You need to be with others. They actually posted that sign somewhere, because they were so afraid of the the incel loner, mass shooter showing up and shooting up the theater. So I've been a little long and I've been a little rambly here. I apologize. I hope it's still been worthwhile. But all I would like to say is just the de-radicalizer. Be careful. Be wary around the de-radicalizer. I don't think I was wary enough, and recently it just struck me. It hit me hard. What we're dealing with when we've got the de-radicalizer, we've got a very two-faced kind of group of people. So be wary around them. And don't ever be ashamed to be radical. Don't ever be ashamed to be extreme, because extremism in the pursuit of truth is no vice. That's it.